Yeah, I've had that happen a lot. I've had like flakes on my feet.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Whatever. I actually want you to feel this vibration for a second, so just hold it so you feel the
Hold it.
vibration.
Wow.
Right? Isn't that vibration going through your body incredible?
Yeah. Through my ears. Through my ears into my spine.
But you feel it in your hand.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So this is why we,
I also got a visual.
okay,
I got a visual.
this is why we chose to call our business Quantum Resonance. Because that feeling of something else vibrating and it coming through you that's what resonance is. That's literally what it means. So it's undeniable, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Hung says, yay, it's Serena.
Hi, Hung. I love you, girl.
Kalina Melnar loves Serena.
Hi, Kalina. Throat chakra. Since we're speaking,
Ah, that actually hit my throat that time.
yeah, since we're speaking, we might as well cleanse the throat chakra so that not only are we speaking with our heart and our truth, but those who are listening hear the clarity that we're looking for. So it's not a convoluted message. It is clear and intentional.
That's the best experience I've ever had with a singing bowl. But I love the throat chakra.
So simple.
I love the throat chakra.
It's so important.
Yeah, and the fact that it's blue and,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, like it's so important for people to step up now, right? Like, I mean, that's becoming not like, oh, you got to do that, but just like people are understanding they're being told, guided, they have to step up.
Yes.
I've always felt the throat chakra, because it's like, okay, you got the upper chakras and the lower chakras and they meet in the heart.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense, and I guess that's true, but
Mm-hmm.
to me, that it's like the throat chakra in this incarnation, because there's physical properties and
Mhm.
non-physical properties.
Absolutely.
And like none of the other ones really have that. you
Right.
know? And plus it has all the,
Yeah.
like, all the resonance
Yeah.
and tones. And
So if you want to place like your finger on your throat chakra, and then your heart chakra is from your armpit across. So we call this the high heart.
The
It's
high
not
heart.
your physical
Yeah.
organ of the heart, but it's actually right in the center of your chest.
right here.
So it's the high heart, and so we are expressing ourselves through the heart, but it's coming out through the throat. So these two together, so that we may speak from our heart, not from our brain.
Right, right, right.
The brain's great. We need it. We need it to navigate life. We need it to make decisions, but it's really the heart that's in charge, and it expresses itself through the throat. So
Right.
yeah, it's a very important chakra. There was a time in my life where my throat chakra was very closed down.
Right.
And then I got into teaching and teaching Pilates, and you know, when you have to teach, your voice has to carry.
Right.
It has to, you know, so through teaching Pilates mostly, I was able to reopen my heart chakra, or my throat chakra.
Wow.
See, I just said heart chakra when I was referring to throat chakra, so they're like one and the same.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, are we ready?
Yes.
Are we waiting? Okay.
I was just thinking about when David Icke came on, he said something like that, and he was talking his own story,
Yeah.
and he was talking about how you have the mind,
Yes.
and then the gut,
Yes.
and then the heart. And he was saying, and the way he described it was really animated. It was funny because he was like, his life changed when he started speaking and leading from his heart.
It's very different.
And he was saying how, okay, something comes in, like we all get, you're guided to go do this.
Yes.
Right? You're guided to go have a thing on Mulberry Mountain in the hot summer.
That's right.
But he said that, and what will happen is immediately the mind will kick in and go, oh, no, you can't do that.
That's right. It loves to find the negative.
Yeah, well, and it's like,
and the
the rationalizing part.
Yeah.
And that the gut, because I've heard like gut instinct, but he was saying like gut is like you feel. Like, oh my God, I can't do that.
Right.
Or you get all the emotions of it. But he said that.
Okay.
Since,
yeah. So since we're starting with the chakras, there's a science or a math behind the intelligence of the heart. It's a heart intelligence. It can be very simple in that it's a compass. And a lot of people use like dowsing tools, a pendulum or something, but our heart is our internal pendulum. I love to simplify things. From the moment we wake up, we're making decisions, we're making choices. Do I hit snooze and sleep in? Do I get up and start the day early? Do I have coffee? Do I have tea? Do I wear a sweatshirt? Every moment of the day is decisions. And I remember when I was quite, much younger on this journey of awareness where, I'm like, oh, I was so concerned, am I going to make the wrong choice? And now I've matured into this knowing that there is no wrong choice. There's just a choice.
Right.
So the heart, if you are clear in your direction and what you want your path to be, the heart will start to warm, open, and emanate towards it. So that means yes. If you're asked to like go to a party or do something, your heart is either going to expand and move towards it, or it's going to contract and move away. It's really just that simple. So we can move away from the mind and all the looping thoughts and the what ifs and everything we love to do to complicate things, and we can just go, what does my innate knowing say?
Right.
And it's either going to pull you towards or it's going to pull you away. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that is simple.
Yeah.
Hey, before we go any further, because we're going to talk about whatever you want to talk about,
Okay.
but we're also going to talk about cleaning up our side of the street.
Yeah.
I just want to take a moment and publicly thank you because for everything you did at Soulogy Fest.
Absolutely.
Because everybody told me, how gracious you were and how you just took everything over like a mama bear.
Well, you're welcome. I mean, that's just innate in what I do. I take pleasure in being a mama bear. I want to feel like that big lap that everyone can sit in when they're feeling weird, awkward, nervous, because, I first and foremost can have those feelings pretty intensely, and so I appreciate all the people in my life who have comforted me during those times. So if I can provide that space for others, that is my highest joy.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I just really want everyone to feel good,
Yeah.
feel safe, feel like they have their needs.
Yeah.
Because that's when we shine.
Yeah.
That's when we feel good.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
True.
So you're welcome.
Thank you. Everyone else is saying it too.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Yeah, we all pulled together for that, and it was really nice. Of course, that's what community is. I do wish it was a little less hot. The intensity of the heat is like, you're like this vibrating flower, and the heat is just like, it was, that creates a struggle. So,
Yeah.
But I've expressed to you before, if we have a festival again in the summer,
Yeah.
it will not be outside. It will be inside in AC. And if we go outside, let's do it in the spring, let's do it in the fall, let's do it where we don't have to feel like we are in survival mode
Yeah.
to stay alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I shouldn't say anything because I wasn't there. But
I know, but you get it. You were there.
Oh, no, I was, believe me, I thought
felt
about
it. You felt how hot it was.
Oh, yeah. And it was a special assignment. I would say that.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, unless they ask again, I don't think they will though.
But the venue was gorgeous. Like, I
Yeah.
completely understand why you chose that venue.
Well, I mean, they told me.
Oh my God.
They told me to go.
I mean, this field,
Yeah.
you know, just
Yeah.
because those of us who have auras that are just huge, we need that much space.
Yeah.
So that field provided the
Yeah.
safe space for us to go through our feelings, to go through our emotions,
Yeah.
to have enough air to work ourselves out. We were able to walk away from the crowd if we needed to. I mean, the trees were amazing. The clouds were amazing. I mean, you really did a stellar job in picking the venue. And honestly, in my perspective, that's kind of what saved the day.
Yeah.
Because nature was our savior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was hoping she wouldn't mention it, but Hung says, for the record, Todd declined my request for a fully temperatured venue.
Right. Well, we learn and we evolve.
Yeah,
So
that's
this
right.
is my 2 cents. Anytime in the summer,
Yeah.
it's going to be inside in the AC.
Yeah, yeah.
Because even when we were in Sedona, the
Yeah,
previous,
that was warm.
we were baking
Yeah, that
in
was a
that
bit-
tent.
at
Even
times,
though
yeah.
the sun was covered,
Yeah.
we were still just baking, you know, so...
Yeah. At times it was hot.
So it's something to initiate, you know, something to
Absolutely,
think
yeah.
about. That's all, you know,
Absolutely,
because
yeah.
it, you know, because I found that the crowd was not there and present throughout the day because they were actually seeking
Yeah.
shelter from the sun.
Yeah.
So then it becomes, well, what's the point? Why are we here if we can't
Yeah.
even, you know, endure the elements?
Yeah.
Anyway.
And you know, I noticed that we'll get off and get back on subject, but some of that I noticed too. Some of that I don't think is weather related, because at the other Soulogy Fest, which
Yeah.
was, you know, had
And
the TP
Yeah.
and the sweat, had the grounds. I noticed that a lot of times when we were on stage, everybody was scattered.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Spaced out.
there might be 30 people here, but the other 60, 80 people were out there.
Yeah.
But the good thing is we had speakers and they could actually hear everything.
Yes,
So,
that's right. That's
yeah,
right.
So I don't know. Yeah, you live and learn.
You do.
So cleaning up our side of the street. So this is what happened.
Yeah.
We've been wanting Serena's. Well, we were going to come on at some point whenever
Yes.
everything fit, and Dr. Joe came on yesterday,
Yes.
and he was different yesterday.
Was he?
Yeah, we've probably done 30 shows.
Okay.
Maybe more even, but and he's always great. We always have huge, you know, response, obviously. But there was something different, and I don't think it was just him. I think it's all of us, right?
I agree.
But the way he was explaining
Yes.
things, he was less the doctor and more the Joe. And
Yeah.
and the basis of it all was to own your own shit, basically. And he called it cleaning up our side of the street. And
He actually said road, our side of the road.
Oh, our side
Yeah.
of the road.
I don't know why I just...
Yeah, I need to change that.
Absolutely. So
But that's what I just wanted to mention. That's what
inspired me.
Yeah, you said.
So I was home last night. I was making tacos for Ty and I for dinner. I was waiting for him to come home from work. And while I cook, which is a way I love to cook. My ancestors come through me and
Oh, wow.
they're like, add some garlic, add some you know what I mean? Like, they literally tell me how to cook, so I don't need a recipe. And I'm always cooking with love. So anything I do is just, you know, emanating that love. But everything that Dr. Joseph Delaney said, I resonated with. And I'm just sitting there chopping my onions and I'm going, yes, 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 cheerleading him on, because seriously, every single thing he said completely resonated with me, and all these sparks just ignited inside myself. I also, the words that he chose were perfect, okay? Because I'm going to bring this up again because I'm noticing in the collective that we can all relate to this. Words right now do not equal what we feel when we're trying to express, okay? And we're doing our best right now, but it's become so obvious for the last couple of years that our language does not really carry the frequency that we're trying to convey when we're communicating.
Yeah.
So it's really just feeling what's coming behind the words, but he was in a stream of consciousness.
I know he was.
Every single word he said was perfect for that moment, and it was really exciting. I like this topic. I like that you said this is human, like mundane
Right.
things. because again, we can collectively relate to the mundaneness of life, because it's there, right? And so every day we wake up and we say, how can we find the excitement in life to not, to, feel like it's just the mundane cycle, Monday through Friday? Where's the magic and the non-physical that we can tap into so that we can rise beyond the Monday through Friday routine? So I just love all of it. And you even suggested, let's continue this throughout the weekend. So here I am going, yes, I want to do this. Let's
and I'm going to see if I can get him on tomorrow.
Okay. Okay.
Kai, you just said something, though. Oh, yeah, I hadn't heard somebody really say that, but it's true. Mm-hmm. And they're agreeing. We can't contain in the words.
Yeah.
It can't be contained in the words. It's bigger than that. That's why you hear a lot of people saying now, man, I'm getting all this stuff coming in, but I can't even explain it.
Mm-mm.
Even people that do that all the time.
Yes.
And what I think about is this. I don't really like having conversations with a lot of writing.
Okay.
Because there is no tonality, there's no resonance. I can come home and say to you, I'm Ty. Mm-hmm. I come home and say, honey, I'm home. Mm-hmm. Or I can come home and go, honey, I'm home.
That's right.
That's
right.
And so it's two different things,
yes.
And our perceptions are already skewed.
Yeah.
And I don't mean skewed like one's right and one's wrong, but they're not in the same place,
mm-hmm.
right? Because we don't have the same journey, so
yeah. So it's the frequencies behind the words. It's really what's pushing the words forward.
Yeah.
Same thing with texting. I mean, how many times did you receive a text and you took it offensively?
I just did this like 2 days ago,
and yet the other person never intended it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm noticing that the language is not doing us a service, but we're doing our best.
Yeah,
that's all we can do.
Yeah, of course.
So just reminding people to tap into not so much the words, because think about how words, when you're debating or communicating with people, actually cause division. You know, because we can get so nitpicky that it's like, well, you said this.
Yes.
And you hold them to the fact that they said that. Mm-hmm. But it's that word was the best they can do to convey how they were feeling, okay? So really what this is showing me is that we are so ready to evolve beyond the words, beyond the language.
Yeah.
We really should be feeling at this point.
Yeah.
So for Joseph to discern and choose the proper words in that moment to convey and express how he was feeling, like he was on it. He was so on it.
Yeah, he was.
Yep.
He definitely was.
And I just really love the language, and I really just want to continue that conversation because, so cleaning up my side of the road, the way I interpreted that is, my side of the road is how I perceive the world. So every day we are presented outside of ourselves with a world, with mm-hmm. a reality, whether it just be the beautiful nature or information coming in from several sources, but it is outside of us. And every single person has their own universe and their own lens in which we choose to see, perceive, feel the world. So if I'm focusing on cleaning up my side of the road, it means I am empowered to clean up and care for how I choose to perceive the world. Mm. Okay, so leading into that, if we want to look for negative, the wrong, in everything, you will find it.
Oh, yeah. You'll find it.
You'll find more than you were even looking for. If you look for what is wrong, you will find it. So, if I'm cleaning up my side of my road, I'm going to choose what I focus on. So, rather than choosing what is not right, in my opinion, what I want to judge in that moment, I can choose to look for the good, mm-hmm. look for the process and the progression as a humanity, for the glimpses of encouragement that we are going to pull ourselves out of this mud and become the lotus. It's what you choose to focus on in your outside world is literally how you're going to clean up your side of the road, because that's all we have control of. We do not have control of how other people perceive life. I mean, I feel like I'm saying very simple things that everyone can understand. My experiences, my history is what is going to give me the sunglass, the lens in which I view the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's different for each and every single person. So I am the only one responsible for how I choose to perceive the world. And I am the only one responsible for myself trying to change or make more positive of what I choose to look at and what I choose to put energy towards. I'm going to say right now that I use my arms and my hands a lot to express myself. So sorry if that's a distraction.
No, I do the same thing.
I'm
We're
from
gonna be hitting it.
Yeah, I'm from New York originally. I also have Italian in my Italian heritage in my body, and I'm also a kinesthetic in this lifetime, which means I'm a mover. I'm a shaker, right? So I use my arms a lot to express myself because the words aren't doing justice to how I feel. I actually could do the whole interview just like doing improvisational dance, but maybe next time.
Yeah.
So so the words are, language is really something. And how we choose to perceive the world.
Yeah, because what I notice is this. It's funny with a few people, right?
Yeah.
Especially people that are close to me, right? Like my kid or whatever. My kids are. We'll be saying the same thing. It's how one says it and structures it, and there's the word thing.
Yes.
And then the other one, with their lenses, because of their history, how they receive it, and even what their current mood is and their current state.
Oh.
But anyways, what I found is it's funny because we get to the end and I'll go, we actually want the same thing.
That's right.
And
I've noticed that with Ty and myself as well. Let's see. So he has a Virgo moon, which means emotionally he's very nitpicky. So it's interesting the things that, like, he's very open about a lot of things, but if I say a certain word, he'll be like, oh, that's not the, he'll actually attack my word, in his Virgo nitpicky critical way. And it's like, sweetheart, we're saying the same thing.
Right.
It's just I have my words and you have your words, but really it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So, it's just bringing awareness. That's all. Just bringing awareness and trying to be a little more open when we're using the human language to try to express how we feel. It almost doesn't make sense anymore, but we're doing our best.
So I wonder what it leads to. You sit, proverbially sit across from someone else, and it's almost like you start the conversation and go, what are you feeling? What are you feeling?
Yeah.
And you start to say, well, I feel like I feel like a knot in my stomach. How does your heart feel? And I'm just making this up. Well, my heart feels kind of, numb right now, or something like whatever it is. And then maybe that's how the conversation, as opposed, like if there's a discussion, it's discussing feelings, or at least originating from feelings, instead of, like you were saying, you did this, I did that, yeah, we did.
Yeah. And so what?
Yeah.
So what's interesting is what I started to think about. This is kind of, I'm going to take you guys on a little trip on how my mind works. Okay, so if we can understand human by human that our physical needs, our very physical needs are very different. Meaning, I'm going to just go through a little list so people can kind of understand where I'm coming from. Someone may be a coffee drinker, and they can't drink enough coffee throughout the day to feel awake. Someone else could be so sensitive to caffeine that if they have a green tea in the late morning, that now it's going to actually affect how they fall asleep that night. Some people may need to ingest animal protein to feel satiated and strong. Other people have been vegetarian and vegan for decades. Some people may choose to live in a human environment. Some people may choose to, oh no, the dry is really good for me. It's better for my allergies. It dries things up. So if we can be so open and understanding of people's physical needs and preferences, let's go ahead and do that for how people perceive life as well. Can we please be open, understanding that each individual is incredibly unique on their journey and what they need to get through life. So why are we judging each other's opinions and thoughts so severely that it's actually breaking up relationships?
Right.
If you can accept that I don't want to eat meat, then why can't you accept that I don't want to take a synthetic medicine?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, we're talking about physical body, and then we're talking about energetic and, just innately what works for you. So I would just love to open that avenue of you do you, boo, and
Right.
I'll do me.
That's right.
And it's all good.
Yeah.
Because I might be chilly right now and need a sweater and a scarf, and you might run hot, so you're like running around in a tank top and a shorts. Why would that be any different if I perceive information a certain way and you don't?
Right.
So I would just love to have less judgment of each other and acknowledge that we all have a unique way to get along in life.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be that simple.
Yeah.
So this whole thing of right or wrong, and I'm going back to your conversation with Joseph Delaney, because he was on it. He brought up everything. Where along the lines did we get so concerned about right and wrong? And who has the power to decide what is right and wrong?
Right.
Why do we end relationships? Why do we stop talking to people? Why do we have such division when we have a difference of opinion? So awesome. So this is leading into another thing I'd love to share.
What?
So I find myself having these general concepts that come across my mind's eye. Last year, in 2021, what was really prevalent in my mind's eye is that I wanted to take radical responsibility for how I react or respond to other people and their perception on life and their opinions. When these concepts come up so strongly in my mind's eye, it's kind of my cue of saying, oh, the collective was working on this right now. Because I say, is this my feeling? Is this my thought? But oftentimes I've already gone through this feeling or this thought. I tend to kind of go through it a couple of months before the collective. So I'm grateful for that because I have an idea of what's coming. And so when it pops up again, it's like, oh, I've already worked through this. It's like, no, this is what the collective's working on right now. And you're plugged into it. So you're hearing what the collective is working on as a theme. And so, so last year it felt like radical responsibility for one's how we react or respond to ideas, concepts, other people. This right now, what I'm feeling is everyone has an opinion, which is based on what we've been through, our experiences, what we have learned. That is going to conjure my opinion reflecting against what the outside world is presenting towards me. And my opinion does not matter.
Right.
So I'm not saying that in a way to be cold, because I could see how someone would be like, oh, she just doesn't care.
Right.
You know, like, how could you not care that there's suffering and then there's no, every single person has an opinion. And it does not matter. All I'm saying is if the entire world bended to each and everyone's opinion and how they think things should be, can you imagine what our world would be like?
Like it's been.
It would be like, there'd be no meat. There'd only be cleaning products that are organic. I mean, it could just go on and on and on. So I'm really just acknowledging that there's no way to make every single person happy at every single time, And so can't we just say we all have an opinion which is valuable
Right.
in self-awareness, but also knowing that it doesn't matter. It's not going to change the outcome just because you have an opinion about something.
And it doesn't require an answer either.
Right. But people hold on to that and they want to create a conflict or debate because your opinion is not the same as theirs. But if we've just recognized that our preferences and the cars that we drive and the food that we eat and the movies we choose to watch and the books that we read and the music that we listen to, if we're easily able to be like, okay, that person is just that way, why can't we do that about how people choose to perceive life? So I would just love to bring more of an openness and an expansiveness without creating a judgment on other people's opinions.
Yeah.
I think that could alleviate a lot of stress.
Yeah, definitely. And then having a conversation, like if I say, I don't like that shirt.
That's right.
That's extreme.
No, but no.
I don't like that shirt.
Yeah.
You could, I guess in the new field of consciousness, you could say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You could just smile.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could say, okay.
Yeah, so it's an opinion.
And you don't even have to give me your opinion.
Right.
You can just,
Yeah.
your opinion would be like, I like the shirt.
That's right.
And so it can stop, I guess is what
Yes.
you're saying.
Yes.
The judgment, in other
yes.
words, everybody has a right to say something,
That's right.
but that doesn't mean you've got to say anything back.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you've got to start some kind of entanglement.
That's right.
That's what I see. Like, it's kind of like this. If somebody, creates like a personal intention, like an affront,
Yeah.
or like an attack or whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to answer. Whatever I do from there is on me.
Right.
Now, in terms of the collective evolving,
Yes.
if I bite back,
Mm-hmm.
then it's on me.
Yes.
Just because something occurred beforehand, that didn't start the avalanche.
Right.
I did.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's a pretty...
So yes, should we have the freedom to express, I don't like that shirt, I don't like that temperature, I don't like that food? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But to think that that's going to change the outcome is where we have an opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So every moment that we go to judge something, we have an opportunity here.
Yeah. Well, that's key.
And this is another thing that was brought up in yesterday's interview, which I loved, is we have an opportunity or not to attach a personal
Right.
issue.
Right.
So if somebody says something, if somebody's eating something, if somebody wearing something, if I choose to attach a personal issue with that, I've just created my side of the road.
Mm-hmm. You
I've-
just littered your side of the road.
That's right. I've just created a reality that I do not agree with what is being presented. So now there's dirt.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's garbage. Now there's litter. But I created it. So this is where this idea of like zero pointing, balance, neutral, coming from a place of observation.
Mm-hmm.
If I choose to take offense to something, I did that.
Well, that's right. That's. I saw a meme yesterday. I shared, and it said, "If you find yourself taking offense, that's a part of you that's not healed.
Yeah.
And if you don't,
Mm-hmm.
that's a good sign too." And then what you just said, because that's been on my mind a lot, compassion since last week, since this lady came on and said, compassion has no judgment. So now with what you just said, if you're judging, like I just went in, a light bulb went off. When I'm in judgment, I'm out of compassion.
Right.
I'm totally out of compassion. So,
I would like to acknowledge, however, that the human nature is to judge.
Of course.
So it's literally just a way that we discern information, okay? So we drive into work every day. It's 35 miles an hour. Some people like to go 30 miles an hour. And so I'm judging them all my way in going, oh, I'm sorry, is 35 miles an hour not slow enough for you? I can literally feel my hair growing at 35 miles an hour, and you're choosing to go 30. And it's creating all this anxiety in me and all these people behind you. I'm choosing to create a personal opinion about that, which means I am now choosing that I have to take some soap and water and clean up that judgment. So anytime I choose to attach something personal, I now have to go back and transmute it.
Yeah.
Where why not just be like, oh, this person's going slow today. Maybe I can get around them and not personalize it.
Right.
I mean, I can give so many examples about this. We do this all
That's
day
a good
long,
example here
right?
because I'll tell you what, we're driving around Sedona Land.
Yeah.
I've run into that a lot, and you know what? This is weird because I'm usually more like up tempo, fast paced. I've just started driving slow.
Yeah. You
I started driving.
You can join them, or
Yeah.
you could try to beat them. You
Yeah.
know. Here's another just really quick example because it happened recently. I was teaching at a Pilates studio that I teach at in Cottonwood, and there is a deerskin rug in the lobby. Okay, and they've been open for almost 3 years now. The brand new person coming into the studio loved her lesson, loved the environment. She said, "I will not come back if that deerskin rug remains in the lobby because it reminds me of the suffering of animals." So I am not going to deny the fact that that is something, okay? I'm a huge animal lover. I've been a pet sitter for 12 years. Anyone who knows me knows that I absolutely adore animals and actually prefer them to humans. Mwah. Yeah, because they don't overthink, they don't judge, they're just unconditional love, and they're in the moment all the time, you know, so they're a really great example to be around. So she had an opportunity, because she's the only person in 3 years that had made mention about something like that. And so basically she's saying, I really feel in touch with the animal kingdom, and my heart bleeds and feels for the suffering of animals. I'm not saying that I don't relate to that. And if I allowed myself to go down that pathway, I could probably be bawling in the corner when I think about how, you know, our food is processed and, you know, everything that this world has become by the forces of others. It is incredibly sad. But I have an opportunity to observe it and then rise above. So she, in that moment, decided to personalize her issue with what that rug represented.
Right.
Where I'm like, I acknowledge that, but I'm also have to like live life and move on.
Right.
So if we stopped and just like let every single thing that offended our opinion, how can we possibly function?
Right.
Because if you look for the negative and what you don't agree with, it's going to be there, sweetheart. It's going to be there times 1,000.
It's either now or later.
But if you look for, oh, okay, it's just like an aesthetic, and we're kind of in the Southwest, and that's the style, and a lot of people do that. You know what I mean? But she chose to personalize it, right? So all I'm saying is we are in power to decide what we want to put attention towards.
Yeah. And even like that example is a great example because it doesn't even matter if it was 3 years or 1 day, right? Because so she made a judgment.
Yes.
And that's what you're saying, an opinion or a judgment.
She attached a personal opinion to the rug.
She attached a personal opinion to the establishment.
Yes.
And everyone attached to it, right? So there's a judgment, and we've said everyone deserves to be able to say what they want to say, right?
Yes.
But the thing is, where does it go from there? So what you're saying is you observe it, you don't, you know, get upset, you don't get charged, nothing. You just observe it, you take it in, and life goes on.
Right.
Because if you, like, she may have a street that's got some dirt on it, and that statement or judgment is, is the root of it, right?
Yes.
But that's none of my business.
Yeah.
I take it in, I respect you, I understand.
So in her life, she may have witnessed animals being abused, where I have not.
Right.
So that for her it really triggers a lot of emotion. And I'm not denying that. That's
Right.
my point. I
Right.
know when I say when your opinion doesn't matter, people might be like, oh God, she's so cold, she has no feelings. It's actually quite the opposite. I have so many feelings. But that's why I'm acknowledging, if we allowed everything to be personalized, we would stop functioning.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't go out in traffic, it's too busy. I can't go to that store, it's too cold. I can't go to that place, they have pink instead of blue. Like, you would it's dysfunctional.
Yeah.
So we all have an opportunity to choose literally how we perceive life and what we choose to put energy towards or not. And the way I simplified that situation was, you have an opportunity to really take care of your health through the Pilates method and through this incredible community, but you're actually going to deny yourself of that because of this other issue.
Yeah.
And that's her choice.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, how ridiculous can we be?
Well, I mean, I think this is a great example because I'm just like putting myself there. Like, I just like what you said. You just observe it.
Yeah.
You say, I understand.
Yes.
I think another thing that's really good, and this is a pretty well-known thing, like just communicating, period,
Yeah.
especially like with the word thing you're talking about,
Yeah.
is to repeat what they've said
Mm-hmm.
and to, I guess like I do on the show, like you said, so this is what you said, da,
Yeah.
da, 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 is that right?
And I actually did say
Yeah.
that to her.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's kind of like saying, oh, I can't come to have lunch at your house because you have a painting up that I don't like.
Right, right.
You know, so it's a choice.
Right,
That's
right.
all. It's
Yeah.
a choice. So I may not like the painting, but I could be like, you know what, the interaction with this person and being in their presence is more important, and we'll override that.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is we all have the freedom of choice as to how we perceive the world, what we choose to attach and personalize to.
Yeah.
Or like what Delaney was saying, it's like just brush it off and move on.
Yeah.
And
Well,
to
that's what
me,
you-
that just seems easier.
Yeah, well, the thing is, though, you're not creating any debris on your street
That's
because
right.
you've left.
Yeah.
And if whether or not they do or not, whether or not her street was dirty from something attached to the energetics of what she said,
Yeah.
we don't even know.
Right.
But the minute we say, oh, your street's dirty, who do you think you are? That's a superiority complex
No,
type
right,
of statement.
right.
We don't know.
That's right.
And so I like that. You're right. The dust off the shoulder.
It's
and you
up
move on.
to you.
Yeah.
Up to you. Very cool, very cool. Okay. Okay, so cleaning up my side of the road. The way I can do that is through awareness. I think a huge theme right now for the collective, which has actually always been there, but we're getting to the point where it's like, you know, it's knocking at the door. Okay, personal awareness, self-awareness,
Yeah.
awareness of our thoughts, awareness of our judgments. So what I have been doing for myself is I'm not going to try to like take away the fact that I judge things, right? It just seems organic. It's like
Of course.
it's how we like understand. We you know, we put things I can't say the word. We organize things so that our brain can understand.
Well, you're look. Hung just said judgment and emotions are what defines humans. That you get the idea of what she
Yeah.
said. So it's like you're still making a judgment.
Yeah.
You made a judgment with that lady,
Yeah.
but it's just it's what happens after the judgment,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know what I mean? So like you could have made a judgment that had ramifications that then created the entanglement
Yeah.
and debris in your
Yeah.
that you're going to have to go transmute.
So I had an opportunity in this conversation with her to stay neutral. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, wow, that's so interesting. Like you're offended by that, even though everything else was perfect. I'm like, okay, so you know, there's options now. You can reach out to the studio owner and see if she would like just remove the rug. Very simple. You know, so I think like judgment can also maybe, because, you know, judgment kind of has this like negative feeling towards it, you know. But we're actually just trying to organize things in our brain. We're trying to just
Right.
understand. And I think at the end of the day, we're constantly trying to relate to each other. So we organize to relate, like, oh, she's offended because of the suffering. I am a huge animal lover.
Right.
I relate to this person right now. So I immediately judge or organize information because we're trying to create connection and relation.
Right.
But I didn't judge her for having that judgment.
No,
I was
no.
like, okay, in my mind, I'm thinking, like I said, she could either choose to rise above that and just come for her health and well-being, or she's actually going to inhibit herself from living because she's choosing to personalize that, which to me seemed really silly.
Right. But the
Humans
thing-
are silly.
You still made a judgment. And
Yes.
that's what she's saying, and that's what you're saying. You're going to make a judgment. The only difference is the byproduct of your judgment doesn't lead you into an entanglement or anything you're going to carry with you. It's
Right.
just a judgment, and now your judgment was, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm basically going to observe it, relate to it.
Yeah.
Now I move on.
So what I tried to do with that situation was just like you said, repeat back to her
Yeah.
how she was feeling, and then I said, it is up to you.
Mm.
You can decide if you want to come back or not, and what is your priority.
Empowerment.
Yeah, so the self-awareness. So having the mantra last year of having relentless, radical responsibility for how I felt and how I chose to react to or respond to people. To me, cleaning up my side of the road is having relentless self-awareness.
Mm.
And I play these games with myself because my mind is very strong. It's always thinking and looping. And so to give my monkey mind something to do, I play games with myself. And every time I catch myself attaching a personal opinion to what the world is presenting towards me, I try to stop it.
Mm.
Because I think it's one of these programs that
Mhm.
is inhibiting us from moving forward.
Mhm.
Because everyone has an opinion and it doesn't matter. Your opinion is not going to change the outcome.
Mm.
Your opinion is not going to change someone else's mind.
Mhm.
You're entitled to your opinion and it doesn't matter. Do you
Right.
see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
It's just like saying, I could worry and worry and worry about the state of the world right now. Is that going to change anything, Todd, if I worry?
No, it's going to reduce your frequency.
Yeah.
It's going to reduce your
Yeah.
vibration.
So it's really just bringing awareness to these looping programs. So why is it that judging between right and wrong is so strong in our humanity?
Well,
Where did that come from?
duality, polarity with the duality.
Where did that start? Where was that indoctrinated from? Who programmed us to be so strong in my opinion of what is right and wrong? Like, how am I entitled? Who says my opinion is what? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's like
I know what you're
we're
saying.
all just neutral.
Yeah.
And if you don't agree with it, fine, move on. I mean, it's really just that simple. But some people take it to the point where they personalize it. It actually affects their cellular system, and and then become dysfunctional for it. From it. So my part of keeping my side of the road clean is being aware when I choose to attach a personal issue to something. I just did that. Nobody else did that. I attached something. I personalized it so that I have a problem with it.
So like with the example from yesterday, you had a judgment, but you didn't personalize it.
That's what I'm working on right
Yeah,
now.
You didn't, but you really didn't.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
didn't personalize it.
Yeah.
You just said that'll be your decision.
Yeah,
Which
and
is an
so-
empowering
Right.
way to segue
Yeah.
out of the room.
So I would
you know?
love to just suggest that to the community. Just notice, right? We perceive information and almost innately we judge it. And then the second thing will be, I'm going to personalize it. So
Mhm.
now it's my problem, or I'm going to take offense to it. We have the power to be offended by something or not, is my point.
Mm-hmm. And you said something earlier that what did you say, something of your personal awareness.
Yeah, my
But-
self-awareness
Yeah,
is
but
my...
you said it away.
It's my way
said,
of cleaning up my side of the road.
Yeah, but you were saying like vigilant, like
Yeah.
You see, I forget the word you used, and when you said that, I was thinking,
Just
we-
be aware of
yeah.
our thoughts.
but like when you said that, and I think a lot this is in the air right now. I think
Because
I
it's something
just-
that needs to
I
be
just saw
worked on.
like when you said that, it was like the power of self-awareness.
Yeah.
So it's not just, it's like the power of self-awareness.
That's right. And the power of self-awareness is the same way as saying, I'm cleaning up my side of the road. Do you see what I mean?
Mhm.
So if I choose to personalize and take offense to something, that means I just littered my road. And
Yeah.
now I have to go and sweep it.
Yeah.
Now I have to go and transmute it, or not, which just means it's going to
Or
pile
you
up
can leave
and
it
pile
there
up.
and say that lady
Yeah.
that came in yesterday left that dirt on my road.
Right.
That's what we do.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
say that
yeah.
dirt over there is
Yeah.
because of my my first wife.
Yeah.
You
So I think self-awareness is the best contribution we can have right now
Yeah.
to, getting to a place that feels better as globally. We're all wondering, what can we do? There's World War III threats. I mean, I can list all the things. I don't have to. You guys know what we're going through. What can I do? Everyone, how can we help? I know what I can do is clean my side of the road. I'm going to just keep coming back to that because it's so brilliant. And cleaning my side of a road is being incredibly aware of how I choose to perceive. And if I choose to personalize something and take offense to it, that's me. It has nothing to do with anyone else's opinion or, so why not just be like, oh, okay, that happened, moving on. So I just think that could be kind of a fun, tool or something in everyone's awareness.
Yeah.
Notice your thoughts. Notice when you read the paper, listen to the news, whatever it is you do, notice how you judge immediately, and then notice how you personalize it and choose if it's right or wrong. And can you maybe transmute that? Is there a way to maybe look at it differently? Like, why do we have to say that's right or wrong? That's my whole thing. Like,
Right.
Where did that come from? When we're born babies, are we automatically saying that's right or wrong, or is this something that's programmed into us?
No, it's program into us from day
Thank you.
one. I mean, look at like right now. There's elections,
Mm-hmm.
and you drive down the road and says so and so will electing so and so equals open borders, or I saw one today that said elect so and so and he will stop Biden's inflation.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything is about the not.
Right.
I don't even want to say polarity because I think polarity is the most beautiful, powerful thing there is.
Oh, it's our greatest teacher.
But
It's
here,
obvious.
it's a invert. The matrix got inverted. The organic polarity got inverted, which created the distortion or the duality. There's a big difference between duality and polarity. But yeah, I think what you're saying is you are embracing polarity and through your judgment having as little to do with duality as possible.
Yeah, just letting it be.
Yeah.
That happened. And so what? Like, what are you going to do about it? And what?
Yeah.
Or I've noticed this, and so what?
Yeah.
So what I've noticed, this might be a little triggering. What I've noticed in a lot of people is they feed off of judgment. They cannot help but judge what is right or wrong.
Right.
And so when they receive information, they choose to judge it, and now they feel entitled. And it's just really unfortunate where people have to create these dynamics and mechanisms to give them energy when literally you can just create energy from, connecting to nature, connecting to all that is. It's a false source of energy, and it's a false source of empowerment. People think that their opinion matters. Well, I think that's wrong. And now all of a sudden they're entitled. And I'm looking at you going, I'm glad you have a feeling.
Yeah.
And I don't care. It's not going to change how I feel. Bantering, throwing ideas out, I think it's all beneficial. Another thing that was said in the interview, he's just taking it all in.
Right.
It could be this, it could have been that, it could have been that. But here's the thing. We can't prove it.
Right.
I know what my truth is because of what I've chosen to take as my truth because it resonates, and then I toss out what doesn't resonate, and that's just how I've chosen to live. That is my truth, and that's all I'm in control of, is how I feel and what is my truth. But if I'm going to take offense to someone who doesn't have a truth that I have,
Right.
now I'm creating litter on my road.
Right.
It doesn't have to be there.
Right.
It's okay, you have your universe that you choose to perceive, and you choose to either personalize and attach to or feed energy towards. And I have my life that I perceive as constantly reflecting back to me and what I choose to do with that information.
Right.
And right now, I choose to learn and do better. receive and do better.
Right. Right.
Because that's my contribution to raising, we hear these concepts, raising the frequency, raising the vibration, trying to move beyond lower density feelings, emotions. That's how I can contribute, is by, okay, so this is awesome because it's feeding into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is self-care and self-love. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We talked a little about this the other day. So a lot of the language right now is service to self and service to others. So service to others is the types of things that we do in this office. We offer services that allow people to nurture themselves, to learn from themselves, to heal from their past traumas. I choose to be in a business that helps to lift people up, as opposed to what would be service to self. Maybe just like trying to sell something.
Yeah.
Maybe being a real estate company that wants to buy up all the homes and turn them all into Airbnbs.
Or even like having your place here and then getting a big box of crystals and say you don't
share them.
Well, no, I'm saying like say you're not in. That's not a good example. Let's say that somebody walks in the door and says, "Hey, I got this widget. We sell them in the lightworker communities." And they're $10 to you, and you can sell them for $40 or
That's
$50.
Right.
And they don't really care about anything but the exchange of the money.
Yeah.
And you take it on because Ty, we could sell 4 a day. And
yeah, we can mark it up just because it's Sedona.
I can. But you don't really care about it.
That's right.
You just care about.
I can be a real estate company that buys up all these homes, turn them into Airbnbs. I'm not going to care that takes away from the local living arrangements. It's the greed. To me, that's service to self.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so we have those options. But what's interesting is self-care and self-love can be looked at as selfish.
Mm-hmm.
But what I had to learn is that actually self-care and self-love is how I show up every day being the best that I can be. So I was giving examples of like if I want to take a bubble bath, if I want to binge on cheesy puffs, if I want to juice and fast. That is all self-care and self-love. Mm-hmm. We can all notice the people who do not give effort or importance to self-care. Mm-hmm. They're usually the ones that are blaming everything on everyone else. Mm-hmm. So by me having self-care and self-love being number one priority, it's actually a commitment to saying I'm going to show up as my best self. Yeah. So if I am invited to a dinner party and I don't really feel like going, but I go anyways because I think that my friends have an expectation of it.
That's not self-care.
That's not self-care. That's me actually abandoning my needs in that moment because I care what other people think. So that's what, you know what I mean? So self-care is going to look different to everyone, but to me, that is the most important thing you could be doing right now is self-care and self-love.
Well, even like self-awareness, that's self-care and self-love.
Yes.
And the thing is, and I got this on the street when I hit the street 10 years ago, and I think it was the first thing I heard. The first thing I heard was, you depleted yourself emotionally, mentally, physically. The best thing you can do is be in 100% spiritual health. That's the best thing you can do for the people that love you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
and
I do.
It really struck me, and I thought,
yeah.
So, and I was even shown like, well, you may never see your kids again. Mm-hmm. But if you're in the best, like a tuning fork, mm-hmm. that's the best thing you can do for them.
Yeah.
So I think I like your example going to the party. Mm-hmm. If you go to the party and you really didn't want to go mm-hmm. because your heart wasn't feeling it, was going like that, you're going to have a lower frequency.
Yeah, and now you're going to be resentful for those people.
Yeah, or it's just not going to be a...
more litter on your road.
Right.
Where if you just listened to your heart in the first place and said, I'm just not feeling it tonight. Mm-hmm. I'll be there in spirit. I love you guys. Mm-hmm. Maybe next time I'll be there. Yeah. This is what self-care looks like. And, it's like if you don't have that kind of self-love and self-care, I could judge that. I could be saying, like, that's part of the problem.
Right.
And again, I want to acknowledge that I think that's a program. We were raised to be polite. Mm-hmm. Don't talk when you're in church. Mm-hmm. Don't talk back to your parents if you don't agree with. You know what I'm saying? We are indoctrinated mm-hmm. to always give.
Right.
instead of expressing how we feel or what our needs are in that moment. So, you know, we mimic the people who we're around when we're young, when we're toddlers, when we're grown. We literally mimic how they walk, we mimic how they talk, we mimic if they're sarcastic, we become sarcastic. But there's a certain point where you step into your own awareness as an adult and be like, oh, that's not mine. I'm not racist, I'm not sexist, I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not this. That was all something that was someone else's idea. So, you know, we can all say, well, I'm this way because my parents were this way. But please tell me, at what point are we responsible to then be aware of that and then start to make the changes, you know?
What did Maya Angelou says? She says, you find out or you know. You come into awareness and then you do better.
Yes.
Like, so I think the answer for me, especially in the last year or two, for me anyway, and I've heard other people concur, which is, it's almost like as we come into the awareness, the shift occurs.
Yes.
Right?
That's the magic. It's the process. Yeah. And it's the process that we don't really have a lot of patience for. Yeah. But yeah, that's to me, that's the alchemy. Is recognizing, okay, I'm judging this right now. I'm choosing to personally attach it, so now I'm creating an issue. Yeah. I kind of lost my train of thought there, but so it's like that's your responsibility. Yeah. Yeah. You know,
that's right.
And another program I see is like we all know certain people that are just this way. You know, they're it's always someone else's fault.
Right.
You know, the landscaping guy didn't show up on time, or this didn't, you know. And so then now we feel validated to act a certain way. Yeah. Angry, you know, entitled. Where is that coming from? Yeah. You know, so there are certain people that choose to stay less neutral and more personalized, because there's a story that's validating why they are that way. Yeah. I was abused as a child. Now I get to be a bitch for the rest of my life. Okay, imagine if we all did that. Yeah. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Let's bring awareness to the relentless responsibility that we have for the collective. And if we want to see a change in the collective, then these common things. It sounds cliche,
but it's not.
It's not.
It's really not.
It's what I can do is be aware of the programming that was put onto me. What is mine? What is not? And what can I have the power to change? Yeah. And I can have the power to change that. How I was treated is no excuse for how I choose to act right now, because I am more self-aware and more self-actualized. So if I default in saying, well, I'm this way because this happened to me, is that taking responsibility? Is that self-care and self-love?
Well, this is huge, because, look, I've been saying for the last 2 months, victim consciousness is taking a fucking beating. And that's not about any person, that's about the whole thing.
All of us.
And one of those things is like what you just said. If this all happened to me, throughout my life, that allows me to act this certain way, which I only know is an imbalance. Yeah. Now, the same thing could be said about just you and I come into the room and you say something to me. You know what I mean? The same thing could happen.
That's right.
And this is this idea, and I think that, and again, this might trigger people, but
right.
But
the
thing is, a victim, and it's not a bad thing what I'm going to say. It's just reality.
That's right.
Victim consciousness is narcissistic. Mm-hmm. And they're the same thing.
Yes.
They're the same thing. I am in victim consciousness. I'm in the human condition, so I still have victim consciousness.
Yeah.
And I also have narcissism in frequencies in me as well. Right. Just because we own all of it doesn't mean we have to live our life that way. This is the whole idea of the awareness. So, often we think the perpetrator. What did we hear today? That the perpetrator, the narcissist, the perpetrator, sees themselves
they can do no
as
wrong.
A victim.
Yes, they do.
Right? Like
because
that lady
there's
today.
A story that validates them acting that way.
Well, that's where I was going to go with it. When you said earlier about if you look for the negative, you'll find it. Mm-hmm. This is what we're coming to terms with. I think this is really good. When it comes to more self-awareness, then you start to go, okay, who am I talking to? What am I reading? What am I saying to get somebody to agree with me? This is false validation. Mm-hmm. This is also false vindication.
Mm-hmm. It's an excuse.
Well, yeah, and I think that's where we're at now. I don't think there's any in between.
Yeah, it's an excuse for not being responsible how we show up in the world. And here's the thing, I'm not being cold about this. No. I am not denying the fact that we all, to a certain degree or level, have been abused.
Yeah.
We have been traumatized in one way or another. This is a
the human condition is trauma.
It is.
Period. That's what we're talking about today. We're all kids.
Yes.
We're all products of trauma.
Yes.
So we're all victims.
Yes.
And as a result of that programming, we immediately and simultaneously become a narcissist or a perpetrator.
Yes.
Like I've heard people say, well, I wouldn't do that. And I go, and I did it. I said, I would never do that. But energetically, I have done some things.
Sure, that's the thing.
It's the truth. Energetically, or say
yes,
even
so
like through discussion, I may have harmed you, maligned you, even, I'll use rough terms here, but like even raped you, or even took, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even took a liberty, or because of the way these codependent frequencies, that's all we knew.
Yeah.
And the codependent frequencies are nothing more than us having to deal with it. We could use many different polarities, but let's say empath, narcissist. Okay, I'm either one or the other.
Well,
so
we
now,
kind of flip flop is really what we do.
Well, well, what I'm saying is, but as we talk,
you're gonna choose one.
You're thinking I'm one. I'm thinking you're one.
Right. Yeah.
So the whole time there's this codependence that only survives through this belief that I'm not, because that's what I'm really saying. I'm not equal to you.
Right.
I'm either better than you,
that's right,
or I'm lesser than you.
Which again is right or wrong.
Of course.
So this, unfortunately, the human nature is trying to be better than, and be more entitled, or again, I don't. If we're trying really hard and understanding that unity consciousness is what we're getting back to, then we need to stop separating each other through all the judgment. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because you reminded me of something else I wanted to bring up. The very moment that I have a strong opinion or a judgment that I want to say to someone, or thinking that I might be able to change their mind, which is hilarious, because we can't even change ourselves, right? So how can we change someone else? But the very moment I'm judging someone, I then go, oh my gosh, I just had a very similar judgment the other day. So therefore I just stop myself. Like, it's like, why would I point out a fault in someone when I literally just did the same, like a similar frequency yesterday, which is what you were just kind of talking about. We're really all doing the same thing.
I know.
And so that's what keeps me humble, and I'm like, ooh.
See, that's the point.
The
point is, even if it doesn't look like it, you might be observing the other polarity in the other person and thinking it's not you, when the reality is this. We know this is 0 point.
Yeah,
it's 0 point. And so, like, this awareness thing too. And I actually think that we're doing a better and better and better job.
Absolutely.
And these kind of talks help a lot. Like I was just talking about how I had written this message a couple of days ago, and it was a conversation, and there was certain talking points. And at the end, I wrote 2 or 3 sentences of like, I do this, and I do that, and I do this. Mm-hmm. And I looked at it and I went, why are you saying that?
Right.
Like, you're saying that, making a point that you do this and that person doesn't.
Right.
Or you're making this point to let them know, to falsely, falsely represent myself.
Yes.
Again, who am I trying to convince? Them or me?
Right.
So I erased it. But I think this is the kind of thing that's happening to us. We're catching ourselves. Yes. We can alt control.
Nobody's
delete.
innocent.
And I do this all the time.
Nobody's innocent.
I do this all the time. I won't get into the intricacies, but I do things and I will go alt control delete. Now most of the time it's with thoughts.
Yes.
Every now and then it's with something I do, and I'll go, you know what? I did it. It's done, but I want to alt, control, delete that,
Yeah.
just like I do with my
Neutralize
thoughts.
it,
Yeah.
alchemize
yeah.
it, transmute it.
Yeah.
Understanding that it's me,
Yeah.
you, me, what's the difference?
It doesn't stigmatize me for the rest of my
Right.
existence. That's the point.
And
Yeah.
truly, the spiritual community, maybe even beyond that, we are recognizing that 0 point balance, observation without charge, positive or negative, is what we are striving for to ascend to up a notch of our vibration as a collective.
Mhm.
But if we keep doing tit for tat and judge their thought, their opinion, what they said, how are we possibly transcending
We're
that?
not operating-
We're not. We're
yeah,
just
we're-
getting back into
yeah.
the dirt.
Look,
You know,
we're not-
so-
when you get to what we're getting to,
Yeah.
you're not going to have assumptions. You're not going to have insinuations. You're not going to be believing, believing that you know what she's saying
Yeah.
or thinking or what their motives are. None of that will be there. These are all products of this whole codependent, toxic,
Right.
dualistic.
Right.
And that's the only choice we had.
So for the spiritual community, I'll speak for myself. I trust that there is a source. There is a true source. There is a God. There is something
Yeah.
that is bigger than all of us that has created everything. Now, to atheists out there, how can I prove that to them?
Can't.
I can't. So that's just piggybacking on what we just said.
Scientists.
When I say,
who
like, I
created
have a
this-
judgment and I immediately swallow it and take it back because I'm same.
Right.
So if someone wants to prove to me that the synthetic medicine is going to help this or that, and I'm going to, like, how can we prove it? I can't prove to you there's
No.
a God.
No.
You can't teach awareness. You can't teach connection to spirituality. It's all, and it comes back to being empowered that we literally create our own universe. You can have a godless universe, think there was a big bang, we live one time and it's done. Good for you. Great. I don't think that way. And isn't it cool that we can sit side by side and literally have an entirely different idea of how the world works?
It's the beauty of polarity.
And what am I going to do? Beat you up because you don't believe there's a God? I can't prove there's a God.
It's the beauty of polarity. I saw
it
this.
just becomes so funny. Like, then that's where I'm like, oh, humans are so silly. We're so freaking silly.
And it's that whole paradox thing, like we were talking about on the last show. I remember watching this author, Stephen Ambrose, on Charlie Rose one time.
Okay.
And it really struck me because he writes about American history, right? And he said to him, what is America's greatest strength and what is its greatest weakness? So you could replace the word America with the
Sure.
earth. And Stephen Ambrose said, our diversity.
Aha.
And I went, whoa. So it's our greatest strength, yet it's our greatest weakness. Now, I extrapolate this over the years as I go back to it. There's certain things I go back to. And I realized that as a strength, it was polarity. As a weakness, it's duality.
Yes.
Right? So when you open the show and talking about perception,
Yes.
that's, to me, says it all.
It's the only thing I'm in
Right.
control of,
Yeah.
is how I
Yeah.
choose to perceive. And why in the world would I think that I have enough power to change how you perceive your world
Right.
and your universe?
Well, you're actually disempowering yourself because you're
Yeah.
letting off or giving away energy or
Yeah.
whatever.
So I like to live in the way that I treat people how I would like to be
Yeah.
treated.
Yeah.
And I want to be treated without judgment. It's really just that simple. I don't even have to go on. I don't need to be accepted.
Right.
I don't want to be judged. Like, let me just be me, and
Yeah.
I'm going to let you be you, and we
Right.
can still have lunch together
Right.
with completely different views of the world.
Yeah.
Because you have your universe and I have mine. So it's really interesting because we have relationships. So how do we, how do we commune when we have our own universes? So what I find is we tend to connect with people that has a similar resonance.
Right.
So I would never expect someone else to view and perceive their life exactly the way I do, but I'm still going to choose to hang around people that I resonate
Right.
with the truth
Which doesn't mean you have the same opinions.
No, right.
It just means that you
But just look at every single relationship that you know.
yeah.
There's a lot of similarities and there is also a lot of differences. But we can still choose to like exist and coexist even though we're respecting that each other has a different perception.
Yeah.
Why do we have a different perception? Because we were raised differently. There's so many things that color a person's perception and how they choose to perceive life, how they choose to judge, what they choose to take as their truth, what they choose to throw away.
Yeah. Well, in the whole, like that show we just had, that long show we had, I don't know if you saw that part about.
A little bit, I saw some of it.
She read one of her poems and it was very explicit.
Yeah.
And she explained she worked for a doctor when she was 20 years old, and he raped her.
Oh, God.
And she blacked out and then came back to work the next day.
Yeah.
Now, this guy was very well known and evidently he was like 70 years old, she was 20, had women lined up.
Okay.
But what happened was she converted that.
Yeah.
So she changed her perspective
On
and
what
created
happened to
this
her.
incredible poem,
Yeah. which
which was so powerful.
Wow.
As she was speaking, her voice shaking, starting to cry, but it wasn't. It was the transformation,
Yeah.
the purity tears.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a powerful example of what you started out the whole thing with,
Yeah.
which is to look at something the other way. And I saw I shared another meme today. I share a lot of memes, and this meme said to the effect, don't let, always look at the other side of your belief.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone tells you not to, that's a red flag. Now, I go back to another statement that I've kept for years and years, which was by Malcolm X. And Malcolm X, when I read his autobiography, he explained that he had converted to Muslim, to Islam, but that what he did was he went and read everything in the Bible and in the Torah and in anything that was, in some way or another,
Different.
opposing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so he made a point in that passage in the book to educate yourself on everything that is on the peripheral of it, anything that is antagonistic or contradictory to it. I thought that was a powerful.
I appreciate that immensely. That's also something that came up yesterday. It's the idea of there's so much information coming right now, and nobody knows what is true and what's not, which is kind of fun because we're on the same playing field. So you literally can't even have an opinion because there's so much non-truth out there that nobody knows what's up. This is where I come back to this idea of being a lone wolf. My whole life I've felt like a lone wolf.
Mm-hmm.
I could be with my family, I can be with groups of friends, but there's just this part of me that's like, they're never truly going to understand and feel how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And we all share that. So in that, we are all lone wolves in this world.
Mm-hmm.
Again, coming back to my own reality and what I choose to perceive. I am a lone wolf, but we're lone wolves walking side by side.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And if we choose to judge things and say right or wrong, we're actually, to me, that's the opposite of expansion. That's the opposite of awareness and consciousness. If I say, I don't believe that, no, like I put a cement wall, there could be another concept that what I think, which I think is really ridiculous, but again, that's my opinion. It's like, no, I'd rather be open to everything. And how the heck do I know what the truth is?
That's right.
All I can do is choose what I want on my side of the road.
Yeah.
Choose what I want in the universe that I perceive to see and feel and experience and grow from. But why would I just say that cannot be possible? That's literally inhibiting me from expanding my consciousness.
Yeah. That's a good point too, because a lot of people, and I do it. We talk about being present and how the universal energy is forcing us to be present. But present isn't just being here and focusing and giving you all my full attention and vice versa. Our presence is depleted by these things that we carry with us, because if we have these lenses on and we have the obstinance not to say, I'm not going to look over there, we're actually less present.
Yeah. Because we're so busy judging right
well,
and wrong.
we're not able to see things that we could see if we were more open,
Yeah.
which is more presence.
Exactly.
That's all I'm just saying. It's like
Yeah.
there's maintenance, and that's really what you're talking about.
Thank you for saying maintenance. Yeah. It's awareness. It's what we can do to contribute. So being aware when we judge, being aware when we automatically personalize something. So now I have a personal attachment. And I actually think that people get like a high off of that. So if I judge something and I'm like, oh, that's wrong. Now all of a sudden I've got this false entitlement because I know what's right.
I just went through that.
You know, the judgment thing is just like, it's an addiction.
Yeah, I had that with a family member when I went to Houston. You know, when I got that free ride down to Houston.
Yeah.
And I haven't interacted with this part of my family, really all of it basically, but this part of my family in 7 and 8 years, right?
Okay.
And these are as close as you can get. You know,
Yeah.
we're talking, parent and
Yeah.
siblings,
Yeah.
and I tried to, I tried to break bread.
Yeah.
And I got that. I got that whole litany of
Wrong, judgment,
but what you said was true. I could feel them getting off on it.
Yes.
And I also know that
Entitlement.
because of the history. So I just said, okay.
What is
You know.
entitlement? It's a false sense of I'm better than you. You know?
But
I think you're wrong,
Yes.
therefore I'm better than you
Yes.
because my judgment makes me entitled. Now, if we're trying to be one unity consciousness, please tell me how that helps us. That concept
Well,
of judging and being entitled,
Yeah.
It doesn't.
it's, you know what, and we all suffer the same thing. If we've all been through the conditioning and we've all been subjected to these programs, yes, I also saw, and I would say it again and again and again because I see it every day and I watch out for myself, which is the stronger my conviction there, the less self-esteem I have.
Yes.
This is a very strong sign. And if you look at the perpetrator, like she said today, the perpetrator believes they're a victim.
Yes.
This person believes there's a victim,
Yes.
And that's something I'm very conscious of. Even like if something I say are right, it doesn't have to mean that I'm a victim, but if I see somebody else as a victim, I'm still in victim consciousness.
Right.
And that's a hard pill to swallow.
Sure.
Especially when you start talking about kids and stuff like that. But, yeah, so.
So the lone wolf, kind of coming back to that identity, like seriously, if we all just kind of embody what it would be like to be hairy and have whiskers and
Yeah.
being that like night crawler at night that has the night vision and is powerful. The lone wolf walks away with integrity without getting the acknowledgement of their feelings, without getting the apology that they think they are due, without getting closure on a situation. The lone wolf trusts it happened, so it was supposed to happen, and I'm going to walk on. It's accepting, which is another thing that came up yesterday, accepting what is.
Right.
So we can choose to judge what's happening, but it happened, right?
Right.
Therefore, it must have been important.
Right.
Because if it wasn't important, it wouldn't have happened.
Right.
Everything has a purpose. Humans, in my opinion, are so thick-headed. We're so stubborn. We're so lost. We're so convoluted by everyone else's programming that grab the point, Serena. What was the point for that?
Well, if you're looking at everybody else's programs, you're not going to see your own.
Yeah, it's just we don't have answers for everything. Oh, that's what it was. We're so stubborn that duality has to exist. Human nature is like kind of lazy and complacent until something happens that affects them. And then when it finally affects them, now they're going to make a change. How many people go out and, exercise daily, walk, have clear, good thoughts, meditate, drink the water to prevent getting sick. A lot of people wait until they're sick and then they're like, oh, okay, now let me do this. It's kind of the same thing with our thoughts. It's obvious that extreme opposition, extreme combustion, combated, has to happen to learn. That's how stubborn we are.
Mm-hmm.
We've been pushed to the point that it has to be so extreme that it affects us so deeply. Now we're going to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
So like we're literally creating it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We could be easier.
Could.
We could be more fluid. We could be
Mm-hmm.
less judgmental. We could be more accepting of the way things are. But no, we choose to be stubborn,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that what my way is the right way. That's why these very intense, painful, sorrowful events have to happen, because we have to, like, you know, wake up out of
Yeah.
something, you
Kinda
know.
like, yeah, like you don't know what you had until you don't have it. Or,
Yeah, exactly. We
yeah.
don't evolve until there is some type of extreme conflict that we have to work through.
And has that been a premeditated cyclical programming kind of thing?
Right.
Like, yeah, because, yeah, I mean, I feel like these conversations that we're having are indicative of what's happening to everyone, even though it doesn't look like everyone's getting it the same way,
Mm-hmm.
right? Plus, we can't think about it in linear terms either, you know,
Mhm.
because you might get something on the linear timeline way before I do.
Right.
But all that really matters is
Mhm.
what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Like, you have code that you can share, and vice versa with everybody.
Mhm.
That's what I see.
Yeah.
Like, but it can only happen like, okay, the whole, like, I like the terms of the Trinity energy. I'm serving, like you were saying, service to self. Rob would say service to others, which that's the service to self we're talking about. We're not talking about the old service to self. You got service to
It's
myself.
self-care and
Exactly.
self-love,
Yeah.
and then service to others, because you're
Well,
sharing
it's
your self-love.
simultaneous.
Yeah.
Stuff. So like you're here today, and Soulogy tries to be, you know, the Trinity energy. I'm going to serve myself equally, me, you, and the collective,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of dialogue, I think.
Service to others is me showing up and facilitating my services,
Right.
but not overcharging just because it's
No.
Sedona.
Right.
That would be service to self, just to
Right.
like put an
Right.
extra $60 to $80 on there just because it's Sedona.
Right.
That's greedy. But I'm showing up in service to others. Yes, of course I need to pay my bills. Obvious, but I'm not going to take advantage of the situation and make it service to self. I'm making it service to others, understanding that the work that we can do will collectively bring everything up.
Right.
You know, so service to self, but then the self-love and the self-care has to happen in order for me to have service to others.
Right.
If I don't love myself,
That's
if
right.
I don't accept myself, if I don't forgive myself, how can I do that for others? So
yeah.
service to self and self-love comes first, numero uno. And anytime I start going, well, I can't believe she said that. I can't believe he did or did not do that. And the second I start projecting,
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute,
Right.
what have you done?
Right.
What can I do inside of myself to shift how I perceive this, to understand they're just doing the best that they can in this moment? It always comes back to self, is
Right.
kind of my point.
Yeah.
Because it really is all that we have the power to change. You know, I can't change anyone. As much as we try to do that,
No, you can't.
we can't.
You can't do it.
But what I can do is start to shift myself.
We can't change a person. We can change things. And things to me, or we can change the field. And where that person is in our field will be affected by the change in our perception.
And
Which
how
is
do
what
we
you said.
change the field?
By our changing our perception.
Yes,
By
exactly.
looking at things.
How
a
we
little-
choose to see.
Yeah, you're either going to look at it and hold both polarities in balance, and that's 0 point, or you've had an epiphany or an understanding, which I love this because I always heard since the last 10 years, whatever you do, don't do anything that's been done before. So that works really good for me. At first, it works for like how do you build Soulogy or what, but then it starts to work with relationships and connections.
Absolutely.
Well, if we've always tried to communicate this way, and it didn't work, let's try another way, right? Or
Yeah.
whatever the example is. But
Now, life is so amazing and real time and in the moment because we have every single moment to choose how we want to feel and how we want to respond and how we want to perceive. So like when I came over and I was like, oh, it's such a bummer that they block off our parking every time they have an art fair. So like where we usually park for work, we now are not allowed to. I could have chose to ride that wave.
Yeah.
I could have chosen to carry on that resentment for the
Right.
situation. But, I didn't. I expressed myself and I moved on because there's nothing I can do about
Right.
it. But I could have chosen to, validate that that's why I'm now going to be grumpy. Do you see what I mean? So
Absolutely.
everything is always coming
Absolutely.
back to
And
self-awareness.
That's right. So if you cluttered your road,
Yeah.
so if our road isn't clean, I mean, really, in essence, and I realize there's degrees of everything, but if our road is not cleaned up, we can't be in Trinity energy, and we can't be in equilibrium, service to self, service to others, service to collective. I mean, I know it always keeps going, but
Yeah.
I think this is great
Yeah.
because it is about self-awareness, self-empowerment.
Yeah.
Self-awareness is self-empowerment, but it does take, in my opinion, from my own perspective, it takes an incredible amount of open-mindedness.
Absolutely.
Being open to
Wow.
all points of dark and light. I mean, when I was on the street, and I first hit the street, and I won't go into the story, but it was just not right. Something was way off, and of course it was my wake up.
Yeah.
But I forgot why I was going to say that.
Yeah,
but
that's okay.
It was related
Yeah.
to what you were saying.
But it's really just acknowledging that we all own
Well,
our own.
Yeah, that's what
universe.
it was. It was just coming in saying, "This is yours. Doesn't matter how you got here."
Right.
That's the story, and that's what you're talking about, like
Right.
with the parking out here.
Yeah.
You can either take it with you as you walk the street, or you can leave it behind now.
And I have. I mean,
Yeah.
there was another day that I got all charged up when this happened,
Yeah.
and Ty actually got a ticket.
Yeah,
He got a ticket for parking at his own business. And sure enough, I chose to personalize that.
Yeah.
And you've seen me get a little fired up sometimes, right? So I went over there and decided to bark at so-and-so, like, why does it give you the right to give us a ticket for parking in our own business?
Uh-huh.
Then I had to come back and deal with how guilty I felt by projecting on that person. So now I had to clean up my road. I had to power wash it. I had to transmute those negative charges that I created because I chose to personalize the situation.
Yeah.
You see, it's all a choice.
And I think another thing too, you said you can get a little fiery. That's another thing, is the way people express themselves. Some people are fire, some are earth, some are water.
Yeah.
And you could, well, I'm more like you. I mean, I'm fire too, but like you can have a water sign here, and an earth sign here, and a fire sign here, and all three have the same thing over
Experience,
here. They
yeah.
all
React differently.
express, but they all express because I did.
Yeah.
When it first happened, Ty
Right.
told me to move my car. So why the fuck am I moving
Exactly,
my car?
right? So
And-
we have a moment right there
Yeah.
to either take offense to it and just be like,
And
oh,
I did
okay.
the same thing. I went on and I said, that's bullshit,
Yeah.
man. And he tells me
But
to
then it
still-
doesn't feel good, right?
Right.
You
And
know, so the next time you're like,
yeah.
oh, I see what this is. We just
Yeah.
have to park
So
over
what-
here today.
Yes. So
So-
what? I got to walk 15 more feet?
See,
Big
and
deal. Yeah.
it's just, to me, it's beautiful because it's empowering. It's empowering when we can responsibly accept
Yeah.
that we literally have a choice in how we choose to
Right.
respond to
Right.
life.
Well, and the reason I brought up the different types of people and the different way they express themselves,
Yeah.
often that's misread too. And it's not the same thing as opinions and all that, but the same allowance
Yeah.
or the same openness, because there's people like you, right? Or me that could be passionate, you know, and that we're our last name ends in a vowel, so we use our hands, and
Right.
and there may be another person that's not of the same makeup, very quiet, but could just be just as incensed for the moment. You
Yeah.
know, it just doesn't look that way.
Right,
So,
right.
I mean, even being aware of the rhythms of people, and maybe this stuff is part of the telepathy that's kicking in and our sensitivities, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the stuff that's happening when people talk about what's the theme, you know, like you were talking about, I actually believe, I have a strong belief, I'm not 100%, but I have a strong belief that what we're actually feeling is the alignment. Like we're actually coming into alignment. Like you
Absolutely.
said, something's
Yeah.
bigger than all of this.
Yeah.
If it's the atheists, how do you prove it? If it's even the scientists, who created the simulation?
Right. I know.
You know, so
Oh,
nobody has.
Thank you for bringing up the scientists, because so many people are like, trust the science.
Yeah.
And I'm here going,
Mm-mm.
who wrote the science books? And why did you lose the critical thinking when your heart says,
Mm-hmm.
I don't resonate with the science book? I mean, isn't it possible that there's a force that wants to dumb us down from being our most powerful potential? So isn't it true that there's a possibility that they could have manipulated the textbooks and the science books to go with a certain agenda and a narrative? Isn't it true that they could have left certain things out because, heaven forbid, we step into our own power and now we actually control our world and they don't? So, where did people lose their critical thinking? Where did people stop trusting their heart? Why did we put so much importance on intelligence? There was a force that said being intelligent is the way. So are we a bunch of thinkers that just memorize words and then regurgitate it? Or are we feelers that innately know that we have our own dowsing system within us? And even though this book, this Bible, this whatever says this, if I don't feel that, it's not my truth.
That's right.
It's just that simple. So it's just really interesting what people choose to fight over when you can't actually even prove that your truth is the truth.
That's right.
All I'm asking is that we open up and just take it all in.
Yeah.
And recognize that we are all incredibly unique and individual, but actually completely the same at the same time.
Yeah.
Another thing I would love to present that, we have the bathroom epiphanies. So when I'm in the shower in my bathroom, like all this clarity it's like it's smacking me across the face. It's like boom, boom, boom. All these downloads and clarity just come into me. So we get so riled up about division and what's right or wrong and judging people's words and concepts and thoughts. So what if we couldn't speak? Which I can't wait for that to happen. I'm so ready for telepathy. We're doing it already. Let's just get on with it already, because this way I would know exactly what you're thinking. And if you knew that I knew exactly, wouldn't you clean up your thoughts? If you knew I could read your mind, wouldn't
absolutely.
you? Right?
We wouldn't have. Well, yeah.
So when we get to this place where it's a knowing that we all literally can feel, and so nobody can manipulate anymore, because I'm like, oh my God, I can totally read your mind that you're trying to manipulate me right now, So I'm excited for that time. But what if instead of us talking right now, I was just giving out smoke of like color and geometry, like a water painting. And my colors are turquoise and aquas and greens. And then you speak, but it's pinks and yellows and pastels. So am I going to judge? Like, why did you just show me pink and yellow together? Do you see how ridiculous it is? That's all I'm saying. It's like we're literally just expressing geometry, frequency, color. And just because you have primary colors and mine are more pastel, who's right or wrong? I'm just trying to show how ridiculous we are, and celebrate that. Us silly little humans. And how can we do better? How can we be more accepting?
I think for one thing, it's like sitting, staring in each other's eyes in silence is a powerful, powerful thing. Like it says so much. Just like when we sit in silence with ourselves. What happens when we put some little time into it? Why would that be any different where two or more gather?
Right.
I mean, no agenda, no outline, no structure. Let's just sit here for 20 minutes and look at each other. Don't do anything that's been done before. And so it would make sense if we're moving to a less of a verbal communication, or even a totally nonverbal, that why wouldn't we start to align with that consciously?
And I love that, because it's allowing space for new ways of being to come in. So if we're so used to judging what is right or wrong in order to feel entitled or feel purposeful or feel secure, what is new is to not do that. And how does it start with awareness? Like, this is a thing that Ty and I kind of share. Like, you can't teach awareness. I can't teach you to be self-aware. I can't teach you to be more conscious. It's like, to me, it's almost, it's a room that you choose to walk in because you're seeking it. I mean, we teach concepts, we give analogies, we give examples, but
you could take somebody through a process that would lead to a
To the door.
to a high potential of
Yeah.
discovering a greater awareness, like putting what is that thing where you were silent meditation for like 10 days,
Yeah,
Vipassana or something like
Yeah,
that,
I don't know.
like something,
Yeah.
where
A vow of silence.
where
just-
you don't like going to jail.
Yeah, it's more internalizing, really.
Yeah.
You know, it's less like looking at the outside for the reasons why you are the way you are. It's going back inside. So to me, self-awareness, self-actualization, self-realization is the medicine right now. How do we get there? Through seeking? You know, I don't know how else. I've been inquisitive and wanting to seek more, just more ever since I could remember. Because I strive to get out of the mundane life.
Yeah.
So I was seeking, I was inquisitive, looking through life like a child, like why? And it's not to necessarily own the answer so that I can therefore judge. It's just, to me, that's what consciousness is the more information you allow to
That's right.
permeate and the more lucid you are,
Yeah.
blending your frequency signature, which is a certain color and geometry, and mine. But we're not saying that that's wrong.
Mm-mm.
It's just different.
Mm-mm.
It's just unique. And then what can happen with those different colors blending together? Then it's
Right.
creation.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. I used to do it with colors when I was a kid.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and that's probably why why people use music. They use poetry. They use painting. Because they're different mediums outside of thought form.
Yeah.
So it's a really beautiful way to express yourself that doesn't really allow other people to personalize or attach it. I mean, I suppose you could say, "Oh, I don't like how that sounds," or "I don't like those colors," But again, it's like, and so what? Good for you. It doesn't matter.
Mm.
Not meaning I don't care and I don't respect that you have feelings. All I'm saying is how you feel is not going to change
Right.
what that person just created.
Right.
It just means that it doesn't resonate with you.
Right.
Moving on.
Right.
So I just wish we could lighten up a bit on each other, stop judging so much. It's obvious that these are very deeply programmed things.
Yeah.
so
Very subtle.
The only way we can change it is to be aware of it.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm playing these games with myself. The moment I go to judge something and then maybe share information to try to get them to be more thinking like I am, I'm going, no, now you're personalizing it. And so I'm just stopping it right there. And just like anything, the more you do that, the easier it becomes. It's like a muscle that you strengthen.
Yeah.
And then you start becoming less judgmental. And now your new excitement is like, oh my gosh, I never thought I would be friends with this person who's got like a mohawk and tattoos and it's like, it's just being open to everything and accepting everything. And if it doesn't resonate with you, fine, move on. But if you choose to make it personal, now you've just threw dirt on your side of the road.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
I just got a huge memory in from like 20 years ago.
Just showing you because you got someone at 6 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, I feel good. I feel like I was able to express
Yes.
the things that I wanted to.
Yeah.
I love that it's mundane human stuff because
Yeah.
that is life.
We're not going to have it when we leave.
That's what we're doing.
That's right. We're not
that's
going to
what
have
we're
it when we
doing.
leave. This is being the human is the thing.
It's
Yeah.
probably the hardest thing, is being the human.
Well, the paradox. It's the
Yeah.
hardest and the
Yeah.
best.
But there's got to be a purpose for it, otherwise we
Yeah.
wouldn't be here
Oh.
and it wouldn't be happening.
Souls are lined up to come here. This is the A team. This is the elite school. This is beyond PhD. This is like
I know.
same for the
Badassery.
yeah. And I definitely think that there's not to differentiate, but just because there's different components make up the whole. That's all.
Yeah.
And we could go to a planet after this one, and we could be born on that planet, memory swiped,
Yeah.
and be the dumbest of the dumb.
Right. We're
but-
really silly. Like if this was everything and like, oh, I don't agree with this political party and I don't agree with this, way people choose to heal themselves and use medicine, and then you're literally taking the thread away of the entire universe.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. It all exists and none of it matters. Your opinion doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because if
that's
you take the yellow out of this because you don't like yellow,
see.
then you're
Yeah.
denying yourself of reality.
Well, and who's gonna like other? You know, I say it the same way. I say it differently. I mean, but and that is you can't throw an absolute down on the universe. You can't say I love everything about this except for that universe.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't
and
do
the
that.
contrast, right?
Yeah.
There's color and then there's
Yeah.
black. And if I say I don't like the black, like I don't like how they choose to perceive, and I'm going to take the black away, then it's not what it is anymore. So the contrast is incredibly important.
That's right.
Because our thoughts and what we resonate matter on a personal perspective. It does not matter in that you're going to try to make the black
Right.
disappear. Like
Right.
your opinion is not going to change the tapestry of the universe.
That's right. That's right.
But you're entitled to your opinion.
And if your opinion becomes an absolute, because
Yes.
anything outside of me is the universe.
Yeah.
So it could be my relationship with you, and I throw an absolute down. What I'm basically doing is saying I'm going to live in the universe, but without that.
That's right.
So I'm actually
Depleting.
myself.
Yeah, you're restricting yourself
Yeah.
from evolving and
Yeah.
being expansive.
Did you say balding?
Evolving.
Oh.
Evolving. Stop it. Evolving. You know.
I am balding.
No, you're not.
Oh, the hell I'm not.
Yeah, right? So we can use all these analogies and all these different things.
We'll have to do
So-
this again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or go into your, like we want to go into your place and show people what you do. And if you do come to Sedona, and this is, she was
Yeah.
talking about this earlier, the stuff they do here and the value presented,
Yeah.
the energy exchange is much more reasonable than
Oh, yeah.
the whole
yeah.
city. I'm
Yeah.
telling you. So it's
No, we literally are here
you-
doing God's work. We're
Yeah.
here to serve.
you walk the talk.
When people are ready, we provide the space for them to
Yeah.
feel safe, to
Yeah.
feel open, and to dive into those pockets of things that are ready to change. You know, we all feel vulnerable in those moments where we're like, oh, I know this is a part of me and I don't know how to change it. Well, we offer, you know, that's what we offer, suggestions to change. Just to have more self-actualization, more self-realization, more a space for you to comprehend your piece of the puzzle, your piece of the tapestry.
They like you. You rock.
I love you guys.
Thank you.
And I
Thank
also
you.
want to just say, everyone that you, I mean, everyone is so beautiful. Everyone you have on the show is so flipping beautiful. It's crazy.
We're all beautiful.
I know. And so why are we so hard on each other? And why are we so hard on ourselves?
You know what? This is funny. God, why it's so weird the way things happen. I was driving in up from Cottonwood because I went to see a friend in Cottonwood, and coming in today, and I was having that whole thing in my head, right? And I was like, my human was like, "Man, you're a beautiful man.
Yeah.
You're a fucking beautiful man." And
That's
I thought,
right.
And I thought, what is that? But I'm not saying this about me. I'm saying what you're saying.
It's self-love.
Every one of us is beautiful.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it's a
And
fact.
Each one of us has our signature frequency,
Yeah.
our color, our geometry, our frequency. And if we were to take that away, it would not be the
Right.
picture. It would not be the whole.
That's right.
So I guess as we are understanding as a collective that we want to get back to unity consciousness, it starts with it starts with inside. This is what I can do to change, is how I choose to perceive the world and how I choose to interact with my world.
Yeah. How can I make my universe more beautiful,
Yeah.
which means I'll become more beautiful.
Yeah.
And beautiful is the whole thing. It ain't the looks, it's the whole thing.
Yes.
And for me, like I was saying those words to myself this morning, which just came out, it had to do with the human. The human being.
Yeah.
Right? It was just 100%, like you were saying, when like it drops in, or was it it was the other show. Like when she felt like she didn't know what a walk-in was, but she had this thing drop in, and like it was like a higher aspect of herself, and she looked at her human and goes, "Oh my God, you're a badass."
Yeah,
Like,
right.
that's what the
we
universe.
need more of that.
Yeah.
You know, we do. We need more self-acceptance, more self-love. I would say make it your biggest priority. Your biggest priority. The more
It
you
is.
get aggravated by someone else, love yourself harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shift the focus back to you, because
Yes.
that's all we are in control of.
That is great advice. Never them, it's always me, and it's 100%. Everything's 100% now. It's
Yeah.
either over here or over there. There's no in between.
You can't love yourself hard enough.
No. So we'll be back in 10 minutes with a really cool couple that lives in Australia, and they have kids, and they've been going through this ascension for quite some time. They've been in the community for quite some time, so it's gonna be interesting to talk to them and see how it goes when there's two involved and little ones in the house.
Excellent.
So, but yeah, thank you everybody. Thank you for
Thank you. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Oh, there they are now.
Namaste.
Okay, let me
Yeah,
turn this off. Oh,